On this episode of Local Film Talk, we're chatting with Clark Ivers. To be the first to get this and our other great episodes, subscribe to the Local Film Talk YouTube channel. And if you want to listen to the podcast, subscribe to the Local Film Talk podcast on iTunes. Now let's get started, folks. Welcome, everybody, to Local Film Talk. I'm your host, Bob Walters. Conrad Arnold couldn't be here today, but we still got a great interview for you. As you know, this is the show where we talk to local filmmakers about the projects they're working on. Hopefully, we get some tips and tricks you can use in your own projects. Now, today, we're talking to a young, up-and-coming filmmaker by the name of Clark Ivers. You may recognize him from our very short video from the premiere of Evan Kidd's Son of Clowns feature film. I met Clark at the premiere. He was one of the assistants helping make the movie, and he also directed a short film called To Die For, which was shown at the beginning before Son of Clowns at the premiere. Got a great response from the crowd. I thought it was a great movie, and by the time you are watching this, it should be available online. So check out the show notes and go look for To Die For. It should be on his Vimeo channel. It's a great short. I think you guys are really going to love it. So, upcoming events. I'm trying to think of what's coming up. This is why I have Conrad, because he's much better at remembering this stuff. I know on June 25th, we have the premiere of Scorpion Vice City Shakedown, Roger Paris's former web series, now edited into a feature film. It's going to be premiering at the Varsity Theater on Franklin Street in downtown Chapel Hill. So be sure to check that out. There's a Triangle Filmmaking Community Meetup sometime at the end of the month. Let me check my calendar. This is the part of the show where Bob checks his phone and you guys get to watch. It's super exciting. The 30th, June 30th at 7 p.m., I believe it's at Rally Point. We're going to have a Triangle Filmmaking Community Meetup, and I will point that out. The name of the group has changed. It was the Triangle Film Community. We recently, a couple days ago, changed it to Triangle Filmmaking Community, try to make it a little more specific as to what our goal was. We're not just sitting around talking about what came out in the theaters lately. This is actually a group for filmmakers. Well, not just the directors. We had a conversation about that. We're like, is it filmmakers? Is it filmmaking? My thought was filmmakers. I tend to think directors. And I wanted to make sure that everybody knew it was a community for everybody involved in all aspects of production, whether you're a sound guy or an editor or an actor or whatever. So we settled on Triangle Filmmaking Community. So if you go to the Facebook group and you're like, something different, that's what it is. We changed the name of the group. Hopefully it's a little more specific, and I hope you guys like it. But like I said, we'll be having our meetup on the 30th, 7 p.m. at Rally Point. Feel free to come out and join us. That is all I can think of off the top of my head. I know we have a screening coming up at the Cary Theater in July, but I don't remember the exact date. But we got plenty of time to plug that in the future. Also got to mention the West End Summer Film Series that I'm working on with my buddy Eric Pruitt. Every Wednesday at 7 p.m. at the West End Wine Bar on Franklin Street in Chapel Hill. We have an hour-long block of local indie films. Great local indie films, really. I've been really impressed with some of the submissions we've gotten. But like I said, it's an hour-long block. We usually have a specific theme. This upcoming week, it's gay. This upcoming week, this Wednesday, it's gay and lesbian films. The next week will be Southern films. After that is comedy. And we haven't quite set what the ones will be after that. We're doing screenings all the way through August 31st, and we're still taking submissions. Any genre of short narrative film that's locally produced. We're hoping that the filmmakers can come out for a little Q&A afterwards. So if you made a film in North Carolina, a short film, a narrative film, and you would like to screen it, check out our website. I'll have a link to it in the show notes, the West End Summer Film Series website. And you can submit your film. There's no submission fee, so please feel free to contribute, and hopefully we'll get to screen your film there. So that's going on. And the final thing, of course, is FilmSpark. We're always taking submissions for FilmSpark. We're taking them through, I believe, the end of August. Again, local films, But of course, for that one, we're taking everything. We're looking for feature films, short films, narrative, documentary, music videos, experimental, whatever. We're going to have a whole bunch of blocks. We want to show a wide variety of what's getting made in the area. Submission is only $15. Just go to the FilmSpark Film Freeway page and submit your film there. I think we're taking anything from 2014 and up. So again, if you have a locally produced film or know somebody who does, submit. We would love to have a chance to show that. So I believe that's it. I believe that is all the business out of the way. What do you guys say we start the show and to get on to our conversation with Clark Ivers? So we got Clark Ivers here. Thank you for coming on.
Yep, no problem.
I first ran into you when at the premiere for Evan Kidd's Son of Clowns.
Yep.
Earlier this year, which people can go see in some of our older videos. I did a little 5-minute video of the premiere, and I think I actually got an interview of you.
Yeah, I'm in that. Yeah, I enjoyed that. That was a good video.
Yeah, you were a PA on that, and they also showed your short film at the beginning, To Die For. So
yeah, that was
really,
we had like a double premiere, so because that was the first time my film was showed too. So
that was awesome for you. That was two movies for you at once.
Yeah, I'm super grateful to Evan for doing that. So I'm thanking him all the time. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm really curious. One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is because you are considerably younger than me. You don't have all these white hairs going on like I do. Right. I'm in my mid-30s. You are how old?
I'm 20, about to turn 21.
About to turn 21. All right. So we got someone who can't drink on the show. That's a first. Yep. Most of the people I know are about my age, 30s, 40s, maybe late 20s. And of course, some older folks too. We haven't had many really, college age kids on here. And I've always been curious to talk to someone your age about what the scene is like in schools now. The people much older than me, you always hear the stories. And a lot of times when you hear interviews about senior filmmakers, they're talking about how when they were growing up and wanted to make movies, they had to shoot on 16 millimeter. When I was a kid, we had video cameras, but of course they were standard def. By the time I got to college, it was the very beginning of nonlinear editing. You're coming of age in a time when HD is pretty standard. So talk a little bit about what it's like, for us older folks, for us geezers, what's it like coming up in filmmaking now?
Well, it's definitely easier to get into. Like it's, as you're saying, now it's so much easier with digital technology. Anyone can literally pick up a camera and start shooting anything. But that also kind of makes it harder because it makes it harder to stand out because there's so much being created today, that it's hard to find a niche where no one else has done this yet, no one else has thought of this idea yet, and do it in a different way than everyone else. So it's challenging in that aspect, but at the same time, it's easier than ever to learn it because so many people are doing it, and we have so many cool online resources. I watch local film, or not local film, sorry, local film talk. I do watch local film talk, but I meant to say I watch Film Riot a lot. That's a really good channel. There's a ton of good YouTube channels like that are available today. So there's just a lot of good resources now to do it. And also, of course, the technology is cheaper than ever. So
right. Well, that's one thing that's a little scary for older folks like me is that we remember when we had to figure this stuff out on our own, or we had to read a book or something. Nowadays there's so many online resources, and you can tweak stuff. The way you can tweak color correction and everything, and programs like Adobe and everything. It just makes it so much easier for younger people to make their earlier stuff look pro.
Right.
And so I look back at the stuff I did when I was starting out, and I'm like, oh man, it looks like garbage. And people starting out now,
and then,
it looks so good.
But another thing that also happens is not only can people make it look pro, but they can also have not very good storytelling in their films, but have it look amazing. You see a lot of that now, like they have great equipment and they have, there's great filmmaking in terms of the cinematography and everything, but the storytelling is not there. You have that a lot, actually. You have kind of a imbalance. Whereas I'd much rather watch something that has a good story. Maybe it doesn't sound great, maybe it doesn't look the best, but it has a great story and they're telling the story well.
Okay. So, that's a good point.
You have a lot of that now of it looks really cool, but it's not, the story isn't there, or it's missing acting, some good acting or whatever. So
Well, you still run into a lot of the same problem. You know, you can get a great looking picture,
right.
but you still run into problems of the audio not being good,
Yeah, yeah,
the editing not being good, you know, it being really
yeah,
flat, not cut as
yeah,
tight as it should be.
yeah.
So, yeah, I
Well,
can definitely see what you're saying there.
yeah, yeah. Audio, I hated audio is my least favorite part of it. Even though I know how important it is, but it annoys me. Like I'm not very good at audio. So I just try to get it as good as possible on the day, on the shoot, you know, get the mic as close as possible. Try to eliminate any background noise, you know. That's my philosophy of like just get it as good as you can on the day. Because
Right.
it's harder to take stuff out and yeah. Not very good
Absolutely,
at that.
and
So.
bad audio more than anything. You know, that's the kind of funny part of it is that you know, good picture is nice. It can be
Right.
impressive, but people
Yeah.
are willing to forgive, you know, for low quality picture. But
Yeah.
when audio is bad,
Yeah. It just kills the whole thing.
people
Yeah.
will savage your movie. They will click away faster than anything else if the audio is crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got to ask, starting back from the beginning, what was your first camera?
My first camera was like a Sony Handycam, like small camcorder. It had like mini DV tapes in it.
Mini DV tapes.
And what I used that for, the way I started out filmmaking was doing stop motion animation with like Legos and stuff. And that's why I filmed, I took pictures with that camera on it. And I used a program called iStopMotion, and it was plugged into the computer. So I plugged that Handycam into the computer and used it to take pictures. And it's a really good program, actually. If anyone is interested in starting stop motion animation, iStopMotion is a really good program for Mac, obviously. But it's a really good starter program, and it makes it a lot easier because you don't have to like compile the pictures into a video. It automatically does that. So I'm sure there's tons of other stuff now. I think they have like an app for it now. But that was kind of how I got started because.
So you were piecing together still photographs.
Right. It was take a picture of something, move it, take a picture, move it, and then, you know, play it together. So it's time consuming. It takes so long, but I had a lot of time because I was a kid. So that was really how I started off. And it was just the way it started was I had seen like some YouTube videos they're called brick films of movies that are made with Legos and stop motion.
I've seen those. Some of them are really
good. There's a whole brick filming community. It's actually like this small community that's like a subgroup from the filmmaking community. But there's lots of people who do it, and even like adults who do it, and they're amazing at it. And I'm still kind of following that scene. It's really cool stuff going on there. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. I saw some videos on YouTube of just, you know, Lego stop motion movies, and I was like, I want to figure out how to do that. I want to do that. Because it opened up this whole world of possibilities where, you know, I loved building Legos as a kid, and I still do love building things with Legos. I still do it a little bit just for fun when I can. But I love doing that so much, and I loved making my own worlds, like world building. I've always loved doing that with the stuff that I created with Legos. I love doing that. So I was just like, man, I could like bring everything to life that I've made. Like I can actually tell stories with the things that I'm making with Legos, and that's what I already like to do. But now I can like put them on film where other people can see them, put them on YouTube. So that got me really excited because I was just like, I could do literally anything. The only limit is how much patience I have to do it and how much time, you know, I'm willing to put into it. So that really kind of kicked me off into the world of film and being able to tell stories through it. So
I kind of did the same thing when I first started out. You know, the first thing I ever did was doing stop motion with my parents. And of course, then it was a big JVC camcorder, and all I could do was hit record and then, you know, hit it again as fast as I could. And it was recording on full-size VHS tapes. So my movies were about 2 frames a second because that's about as fast as I could hit the button.
Right.
But yeah, you know, that's a great way for kids to get started.
I definitely, if there are any kids watching this, I always recommend that. Whenever kids say, I want to make films or whatever, I say, start with stop motion, because you really do learn all the techniques. You have to take so much more time in everything. I feel like it gives you more time to think about what you're doing, because if you mess up or if you do something and you don't like it, you've just wasted a ton of time doing that. So it really makes you, if you have the patience for it, it really makes you slow down and try and figure out what you're actually trying to do through what you're animating, through how everything's moving, because you actually have to physically move everything. So it really makes you think more about, especially like cinematography and telling stories through the moving image and telling stories through cinematography. So
Well, and it's a great way for like figuring out lighting and that kind of thing. Because
yeah,
if
that
you're
too.
shooting with your friends, you're not going to get them to stand still
Right.
for a half hour while you go, I wonder what happens if I
Yeah.
put a lamp here.
Yeah.
But when
There's
you're
so
playing with
much.
your Legos or something, you can do whatever the
Exactly.
hell you want.
Right. There's so much room to fail, and I think that's why it's so valuable. Because if you fail, it's not like it's just you. It's just you in your room playing with Legos. So there's
Mhm.
so much room to fail in that. I feel like, and there's yeah. I think that's why it's a really great way to get into it. So
Right. So when did you start actually like shooting live action stuff? Was this in
uh,
high school or?
yeah, it was pretty much in high school. I was on a robotics team in high school. And so we built robots every year for a
Oh,
competition, and
that's
we
cool.
competed with other teams. And so I got a DSLR camera. I really wanted one because I was like, I want a better camera to do stop motion. And I also wanted one to do video because I kind of wanted to start getting into that more. And so I got a nice DSLR. I got a T4i, still have it. It's still the one that I use. And I got that in high school, and I started documenting the things that my robotics team was doing. So I would like make a video for when we went to competition, or like make a video for when we did an event. So basically started out doing kind of documentary type filmmaking, or, just short videos of doing short interviews and then B-roll, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how I got started in the live action stuff. I didn't really make like films, like narrative films in high school, actually. Like I kind of played around with it a little bit, like doing little sketches and stuff with my sister, but nothing really like, I don't know. I don't know why. I felt like it was always easier to do it with Lego because I didn't have to because I could literally do anything, and I've always wanted to do more like fantastical stuff, and that's harder to
Right.
do. And I always wanted to make like I'm a perfectionist, so I always want it to look good. So I'm like, I don't want to do it if it's gonna suck, if it's not gonna look good.
Right.
And I wanted to do all this sci-fi stuff and all this fantasy stuff. So I was
Mhm.
kind of just, I'm gonna stay in this documentary thing for a while
And it
until
seems like it'd be
yeah
so much easier if you just draw everything and do animation, but it takes a long time to draw stuff. It's like
yeah
I could
and
build Legos faster, and then I
and
get to
I
play with Legos.
yeah and
Right.
around this same time when I got my camera, I kind of got burned out on stop motion because I had this one project where I was trying to make like the most cinematic looking possible like stop motion film that I've ever made, and I spent like 6 months on it or something crazy, and it was like I was shooting in 24 frames per second, so like actual like frame rate of video for
Right.
stop motion, and that was just killing me. But I was like so happy with my results, but I got like halfway through the project, 6 months of work, it went down the tubes because I didn't back it up. I didn't back the project up, and it was only on one hard drive, and that hard drive crashed or something. I couldn't get it. So I lost the project halfway through. I was
Oh shit, that
so
sucks.
sad. It was a good lesson in backing up everything and saving often, but it really sucked, and that kind of took me off stop motion because I was
Okay.
just like, this takes way too long. And
So
I think it
you've
was
always been a
more
Mac
of
guy? You've always been
a
an Apple guy?
yeah, yeah. My
Okay.
dad is actually crazy about Apple products. We've never owned a PC, so
Oh, okay.
yeah, I have everything Apple. So yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
yep.
So, so you get an interest in filmmaking. You're making these promo videos and documentaries
Hmm.
for your robotics team.
Hmm.
What is it like these days? And just for people watching in the future, it's 2016 now, so we're
Hmm.
probably talking around 2010 or so,
Yeah,
maybe a little later,
2011,
2012.
2012, around then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at that time, you decide that you're interested in a career in filmmaking.
Hmm.
What kind of resources are there in schools? Because when I was in high school, we had a cutting edge program over at
Yeah,
Enloe High School in Raleigh,
yeah.
and they had just gotten it was a Mac based system, an Apple
Hmm.
based system, but it was called a Turbo Cube,
Yeah.
and the hard drives were, I mean, the tower was massive. It was like 3 feet tall. The hard drives were huge. It was just standard def, and it was the first thing I had ever seen that looked like Premiere or Final Cut.
Right.
But at the time, that stuff was cutting edge. I'm curious what kind of and we were the only school that had that.
Hmm.
Most colleges didn't have that. A lot of TV
Right.
stations didn't have that. So I'm curious
Yeah.
what a lot of schools are outfitted with now and what kind of programs they offer.
Well, in terms of like high schools and stuff, well, I was homeschooled, so I'm probably not the best person to ask
Ah,
about that.
no, you would not
That's
be.
yeah. So I'm not kind of a weird case, but
Well,
like
it sounds like your
definitely
parents were very supportive then.
yeah. And I think that a huge part of why I was able to grow this filmmaking hobby and now hopefully career was because I was, you know, homeschooled, and I was in that environment where my learning was very individualized, so I could really play with what I wanted to do and had a lot of room to kind of pursue what I wanted to. So I think definitely I'm thankful to my parents for that. So, but in terms of like, aside from like public school, like high school, I would say like when I went to Wake Tech Community College for 2 years, and I just graduated my Associates of Arts there. But they didn't really have anything. They had like a media lab. I mean, this is a community college too, so it's a weird case. But they had like a media lab. I kind of looked into like, do they have any film things here? They have like a media lab, and it was like weird. Like you couldn't use it unless you were in like a specific class, and it wasn't even like a film class. It was like for doing I don't know what it was. It was like you had a video assignment for this specific class, and that's like the only time you could use it. It was weird. It was weird. Anyway, so that was kind of disappointing. Hopefully they'll get that thing going. I always say if I become a successful like filmmaker and get lots of money, I'm gonna like give them a grant to like actually start a film program there.
Well, it's funny because like when I was in school, because it was such a new resource, you know, in high school, there was this one computer that was, I mean, I honestly want to say it was like a, you know, $50,000 computer or something they had, because it was just ridiculous to be able to edit standard def video on a computer back then. But even when I went to college, it wasn't into, when I went to college, you still had 2 VHS machines with the, that were hooked up together that you had to edit on. And it wasn't until my junior year, they finally got two Macs that had Final Cut Pro on them. And you had to sign up for time in the lab with them. So again, it was a very limited, very precious resource. You had like 50 kids all trying to sign up for time to use this, use these 2 computers. I gotta imagine, you know, a decade later, you know, a computer with editing software is not as scarce a resource. I'm surprised they were so stingy with it.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's not as like everyone has, like nowadays everyone has a laptop, or everyone has a computer at home, and
nowadays there's open source editing software.
Right, and there's open source like HitFilm. That's an amazing resource. I haven't actually used it, but it's basically like a clone of Adobe Premiere and Adobe After Effects. It's like a whole system.
Is DaVinci open source? I can't remember.
I haven't heard of that, but
I'll have to look that up.
HitFilm is I think that's it's called HitFilm. That's like a brand new thing that just came out like recently. But if you look it up, it's really amazing. I haven't used it, but I've heard good things about it. It looks like exactly like Adobe Premiere and Adobe After Effects. They have like multiple. They have like their whole own like suite, just like Adobe does, but it's free. Which is amazing. At least
you've used it?
No, I haven't used it. I know people who've used it, and I've looked into it and how it works, but haven't used it just because I already use Adobe. So, but it looks, if you want to use Adobe, if anyone out there wants to use Adobe but doesn't have the money to do that, definitely look into HitFilm.
Now, I've always wondered, and I'd love to get someone else's opinion, especially a younger person's opinion on this, where you're still in the stage where you're learning stuff, and your mind is still a sponge. You haven't gotten old and senile like I have yet. But again, back when I was first getting into this, there were a limited number of resources, and there were a limited number of programs out there. You know, you didn't have open source projects and all these other little startup editing programs. There was basically the industry standards. There was Adobe Premiere, there was Final Cut, and if you had more money than you knew what to do with, maybe you could use an Avid machine.
Right.
And so you the only things out there were what the industry was using, and so you learned how to use that stuff. And so therefore, when you're going to apply for a job, the programs that they want you to know how to use are the programs you learned how to use.
Right.
Nowadays, there's so many other programs. There's HitFilm. There's that DaVinci one I was talking about. I think there are a couple other ones too. Is it? I assume it's tempting to get free software and learn how to edit on that, but is there also are people also a little hesitant to learn how to use, to get really good at editing on HitFilm? And then they go for a job interview and they're like, "Do you know Adobe?" "Oh, I learned on HitFilm." "Oh, you don't know Adobe, we don't want you. I mean, does that hold people back on
Oh,
some of these programs, or is
I
editing
don't
it?
know. Yeah, I think it's more about you. It's less about what tool you use to do the task. It's more about, do you understand the task, the purpose of the task, the principles of the principles of what you're doing with editing. So if you understand how to edit in terms of, I understand how to edit a scene so that it makes sense, so that it's the most compelling it can be, so that, you know, the acting comes across the best possible. That's more what it's about. I think hopefully that's what companies are thinking.
Hopefully, yeah.
Because
But
it's less,
sometimes they're just saying, we need somebody who can, we just
right,
fired the
right.
last guy. We need somebody who can jump into the
Yeah,
workflow on this project.
maybe that would be true, but so I haven't really experienced that. I'm not really in the job
You're
market.
not out in the job market yet. That's true.
Right. I'm not. I have applied for like some internships, but other than that, I think it's more about, hopefully they're more interested in, do you understand the concepts? Do you understand the purpose behind what you're doing, and the concepts of why you're doing it?
Okay.
Hopefully.
Would you say it's important for maybe someone who learned on hit film or something how to edit when they do get the opportunity to work with a professional grade or a professionally used product like Final Cut,
I
like
definitely say,
Premiere?
like, use whatever you can get your hands on. I definitely say, like, try to diversify, try to learn as many different software packages as you can. You know, if you have the resources to do that, definitely try to get your hands on as many different tools, because, you know, there's so many different tools being used today, as you said, that you do kind of need to be a jack of all trades in that way, where anyone can hire you, and you'll know how to use what they're using.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely.
Well, and you are an indie director now. You do have a
Yeah.
short film under your belt, and even a music video or two, unless I missed
Yeah,
my
the second
guess.
one, the second music video is going to come out pretty soon.
Okay.
We're just holding off on it because the artist doesn't want to release it until near the end of
Gotcha.
July. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So as an actual indie producer now, you know what it is to have to be a jack of all trades.
Yeah. You definitely end up doing most of everything, almost everything. Hopefully, you have a couple friends to help out, but you're doing a lot. Definitely.
Okay.
So
So let's talk a little bit about some of your work while you were at Wake Tech. I assume that's when you did your short film To Die For.
right.
Was that a school project or something you did on the side?
No, it was not a school project. The funny thing, when I was I did do it while I was there, in my second to last semester, so fall of 2015.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah, fall of 2015. And then, sorry, we shot it in November, but before that, I was planning it for like a year. Off and on, I was planning it for a year before then.
Pre-production is key.
Yeah, and definitely, and I'm glad I took so much time on that, because that really helped out. But it wasn't a school project. It was just, I want to make a film. I had the idea for a while, and one of the things that really I was kind of debating about, should I make this now, or should I wait till I go to film school to make it? Because, I could probably make it a lot better, and make it, everything would just be a lot better if I was in film school, if I made it. And it would be so much harder to make it now, because I don't have any support in Wake Tech to do it, really. And it's not for a school project. So people are like, well, it's not for a school project, so, why are you doing it? So, but the thing that kind of pushed me over the edge of, yes, I want to do it now, is that I worked on Evan Kidd's feature film, Son of Clowns.
I was going to ask you to place this on the timeline with working on Son of Clowns. Before
Yeah,
or
so
after?
Son of Clowns, I made this after. Son of Clowns, I was kind of planning To Die For, but it wasn't like, I know I'm going to shoot it this fall. It was like, okay, well, if I was going to make it, this is what I would do. And it was more like at that stage, probably writing the story and figuring it out more, and just figuring out the resources that I would need to make it if I did make it. It was more theoretical at that time. So when we shot Son of Clowns, it was summer of 2015. So that whole experience really, really impacted me. And I was so glad, so happy to work with everyone on that project. If you watch the video, the interview, when you went to the Son of Clowns premiere, if anyone watches that, you'll see, I talk very highly about it, because it was very impactful. And I'm really grateful to all those people that we worked with. But it was just an amazing shoot. It was a 10-day shoot. Hot weather. Everyone there was doing it because they wanted to. No one was getting paid. Everyone was volunteering, and just seeing that and how passionate everyone was about it, even though we were shooting it in like 100-degree weather and no one was getting paid for it. It was just everyone's just doing it because they love doing this, because they love making art, because they want to say something. That really inspired me, and it made me realize, you know, I could do this now. All you have to do is find the right people. All you have to do is find the people who want to do this stuff. All those people are already out there. You just have to find them. You have to make the right connections. And I really saw that, because Son of Clowns, the way it got made, like, it shouldn't have gotten made. There's no logical reason why Son of Clowns should have gotten made. And
Evan Kidd is an amazing,
yeah,
you know, if nothing else, you got to check his stuff out, just because it's an amazing lesson, and you can do anything if you just put your mind to it.
He's very inspirational to me in what he's done, and I tell him that all the time. So everyone, if you're watching this, go check out Evan Kidd's work if you haven't yet. And yeah, just look him up on Vimeo, Evan Kidd. But yeah, it was so inspiring to me to see that, and it really made me realize I can make this film now. I don't have to wait till film school. I can do it now. It might be really, really hard, but at least now I've been through a whole production, and it was of a feature film, so I've really been in the trenches, and I know how hard it is to do everything and to get, you know, all the scheduling and coordinating everyone, and yeah. So and especially also another thing that helped me definitely decide to do it was just watching Evan direct and kind of taking notes from that, and seeing how he talked to his actors before scenes, how he would get them ready before scenes. So that, because I had never really directed actors before, and I've never been in theater or anything like that. So that really helped me to see how he directs, and I took a lot of notes away from that. And, you know, I take a lot of cues from him and how he directed. So, yeah.
So you worked on Son of Clowns, you learned a lot of lessons there, and then you decided you're going to make your short. Did you go back? I noticed at least one actor from Son of Clowns in your short.
Yep. So,
did you pull mostly from Son of Clowns people, or did you pull from some of your Wake Tech friends?
Well, for cast, both the two actors that star in my film were both in Son of Clowns, and so that was another big thing, was I met the actors that were going to be in my film. So that was a huge thing, and I already knew them, so they were much more likely to want to work on my project because I already had that connection. So Wyndham Rice, who is a kind of a side character in Son of Clowns, she's in 2 different scenes, but one main one. And then I guess I shouldn't say who she plays, because I don't want to give away the film, because not everyone's seen the film. But anyway, she's in the film. And then Eric Hartley plays, who's also in my film, plays the dad in Son of Clowns. So both of them I met there, and definitely right when I saw Eric acting in Son of Clowns, I was like, he would be perfect for this part in To Die For. Like, he has the physicality, he could do the accent. He's a really great actor. I just saw it right away. I was like, he's the perfect one for that. If I can't get him, I'm not doing the film.
You're the guy.
So, I didn't tell him that I was thinking that during shooting Son of Clowns. I did not tell him that because I was a little bit intimidated. I don't know if I've told him this, but I was a little bit intimidated at first, because I was like, I just met him, and I'm a kid asking him to be in a film, and, you know, for all he knows, the film really sucks and it's not a good story or whatever. So I was kind of self-conscious, and I was like, I'm not going to ask him yet. I'm going to kind of, you know, wait to play my cards. But so I just kept that in the back of my mind, and it eventually happened. But at the time, I was kind of afraid to ask. I didn't want to, I didn't want to ruin it. So I kind of waited till I had everything else lined up. I wanted to make sure this is really going to happen before I ask him. Like, he's the only piece that isn't there yet. So that's kind of how I went about that anyway. But
well, and I guess that's a good example of something we were touching on earlier, is that it's really easy, it's not easy, but it's much easier to learn all the technical stuff about making your film look good from YouTube videos and web series and everything. But the real trick, the thing that a lot of people stumble on, is the story.
Right.
I can personally say, having seen To Die For, that I really like the story, and I think it's well paced and everything. I assume at this point you knew the importance of story and making sure it was good. Were you just tweaking that and saying, man, I got to get this thing super tight before I show it to these actors so they know that they're getting something good?
I was definitely working on the script off and on for the entire kind of time that I was doing pre-production. for like a year off and on working on the script and really pulling it in. I kind of wrote it. It kind of came up like all at once, though. It was weird when I wrote it. It was like January of 2015, and when I started writing the script, and all of a sudden I kind of had the story in my mind for a long time, but I didn't know. I had a lot of pieces, random pieces, where I was like, okay, this could happen, that could happen. I kind of had the world of it a little bit, but I didn't have like, where's the narrative in this? Where's an interesting story in this?
Are you storyboarding as you're writing?
No, I didn't really storyboard while I was writing, because storyboarding is kind of all visual for me. So it's like figuring out visually, how are you going to shoot it after you know what the story is. But I was more just trying to figure out more just in words of like, what is the order of things and what's the plot.
Yeah, I find sometimes if I'm writing something and I'm having trouble with a little bit, like a transition or something, sometimes if I just kind of draw it out comic book style, and then I'm looking at it visually, and I'm like, all right, in a movie, how would you, get from this to this? What kind of coverage would you need? And sometimes that helps me crack a code that I otherwise had writer's block on. That's why I was asking.
I should try that sometime. But yeah, so
now, Evan, like you said, you were really impressed with his work. You're, I guess, kind of a mentor to you a little bit. Did you at some point show him the script and get some pointers from him?
Oh yeah, I showed him the script like right around when, I don't know when it was, but it was like close to when we were going to shoot it, like close to when I was like ready to send it to the actors and say, this is the final script. So I sent it to him, and he gave me a lot of feedback on it. He gave me like pretty much most of the feedback I agreed with, and I was like, yeah, that's true. It was a lot of helping me, to take out lines that were telling too much and not showing enough. That was a huge challenge with it. The whole project was, how do I show it when I can't show a lot because of my budget and because of the scope of it, but also clue you in enough to it. It was really a hard balancing act of how do you show and not tell, but then how do you, if you can't show very much, then how do you still show it? So
because for people who haven't seen it, it's about a post-apocalyptic wasteland,
right?
Which with no budget can be difficult to convey. So I understand your challenge there.
Yeah, and it was definitely. There's so much more world building that went into it than is shown in the movie. Like I could make a whole nother film within that world that is a different story. I might do that eventually. I don't know. But yeah, there was a lot more thought that went into it than is kind of apparent in the film. That it doesn't, none of that material kind of shows up. But it was pretty difficult of like, how do I, show just a small piece of this huge world that I've made, but still kind of get across what's going on in the world. So, yeah.
Okay. What was the best note he gave you?
Definitely, I don't know. I think it's more overall just showing, not telling. I'm trying to think back to specifically what he said, but there were some things.
Like there's some piece of advice he gave that you're like, oh, and you will use in future. Not just something about specifically this project, but just a general theory that you're like, oh, I'll use that in the future.
Can't remember it very well, but I remember, right? And there is a specific thing that he said that I agreed with, but I chose not. I agreed with it, and I was like, yes, I would do that if I could, but I chose not to do that because it would have. I don't want to give away what it was, but it would have meant more shooting and more getting actors, and I was trying to keep it doable from a production standpoint too. Like it would have been doable, but it would have been. I was really tired. I didn't want to like have to find more extras and more. There were some things that he suggested where I was like, yes, that would be good story-wise, but I don't really want to like look for even more actors and even more extras and stuff. So it was more just a production choice than a story choice. If I was like, I'll have no problem with that, then I would have, taken that suggestion because I wanted to do it. It was just that same thing of you want to do more, but you have to do what's within your
right.
kind of how much you're willing to put into it. And yeah. Right.
So as a young person on a super low budget working on your first short, I'm curious, and of course, any advice you can give to people out there who are watching. I thought the production value on the film was great. Talk
Thank you.
about finding some of those locations. Like we said, it's supposed to be post-apocalyptic. What were some of the tricks you used, both indoors and outdoors, to kind of convey that without having a big budget?
Well, for like what you're talking about, like making it look like that kind of world, like post-apocalyptic, both indoors and outdoors. I'll start with just indoors. If you watch the film, a lot of it takes place inside of an office, and it's just a normal office. It was an office space that we found at Wake Tech. So it's not very post-apocalyptic, but we just did a lot of set dressing to make it look like it was. So that was for that indoor scene, and we only have like one. That's the only location that we have in. Well, actually, sorry, never mind. We do have another one, but
there was one, if I remember correctly, looked kind of like a warehouse, sort of, or a storage room, maybe big storage room.
Yeah, you're talking about the end part. I don't want to give it away.
Yeah. I don't want to give anything away. I'm trying to tiptoe around.
But yeah, there is another. But in terms, the main indoor scene, it happens in that one office. So it was more okay. We have this one indoor scene that we kind of have to sell this kind of whole area within this whole space, basically just from this one room. And so we just did a lot of set dressing of trying to make it look what would be in this world, why would it be there, what's going to be in the background. So it was a lot of set dressing to make it look like that. It was kind of just working with what we have. So that was one way. And then location scouting for like outdoor, because most of it's outside. We basically, a lot of it was just locations I already see when I'm driving around, like when I'm driving from my house to Wake Tech. So it was a lot of just what I already have. And North Carolina is kind of great actually for outdoor post-apocalyptic kind of stuff. And it's not like rural, it's not urban kind of post-apocalyptic where it's like cities and stuff, because that's much harder if you're doing like really big scale post-apocalyptic. I knew I was like, I want to keep it kind of a rural post-apocalyptic landscape, both because it's way easier, it's what I have, and also it's kind of a little bit different. And it also ties into North Carolina. Like I did want it to feel like it was actually kind of in North Carolina or the South. So I kind of wanted to have a little bit of that flavor in it. So it was just kind of what I saw. And, we have a lot of broken down, like there was a big broken down house in it. That was one of the cool ones. Abandoned roads. We have quite a few abandoned roads. I did a lot of just Google searching like North Carolina abandoned places. So that's another good way.
Hopping quickly to another project, but kind of on a similar bent. The last music video, I guess it's your first music video that you put out, was actually shot at, I love the location there. It's an abandoned railroad trestle that's just completely overgrown. How do you find that? That's so cool.
So the artist that we did that music video with is The Unknown, by the way. Check him out. He has an Instagram. Look up Is The Unknown. He just dropped an album actually that we did the song for.
Is that video public?
The music video for. No, the music video is not out yet. Well, at the time that we're recording this, it's not, but it should be.
Sorry, guys.
If anyone wants to check out my work, vimeo.com/CHIP Studios.
That will be
all my work will be To Die For will be on there. I'm gonna To Die For is releasing tomorrow from the day that this is filmed.
Monday, June 20th, 2016. Yeah. So by the time this comes out, it should be up.
Yeah. But anyway, so the location we had for that, the artist we were working with is The Unknown. He actually had the location already picked out. That location, or that music video happened really quickly. It happened like within 4 days. Like he just called me up, and like I knew him from Wake Tech, and he just called me up and said, "Hey, do you want to shoot a music video?" I'm like, "Okay." And we met about it, and then we met for like 2 days, and then we shot it in another day. So it happened within like 4 days of like deciding to do it. So that was but it turned out really well for like being that quick of a turnaround.
It looked good, and like I said, the location is fantastic.
The location, so it's in that railroad trestle is in it's near Eno River Park. So it's in Durham. It's in the Durham area. You can't really find it. I can't really tell you where exactly it is, but it's in that area.
All we know is we
Go
went past all
exploring.
these no trespassing
Yeah,
signs.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, don't go
No,
there.
no, there was no signs actually. There's no signs. It was like, yeah,
Four
there was
people
like
got tetanus. It's all
there was
good.
like a fence with some construction workers, but there was no. They just let us go past them. Like there was no sign at all. So yeah, no one. We didn't get in trouble for it. So
Do first and ask for forgiveness later.
yep, yep,
That's the indie spirit.
yep, yep.
Okay.
Be
But
responsible though, where you are. Don't do
yes,
anything dangerous.
absolutely.
So yeah.
Well, yeah, in both your projects that I've seen so far, the production value was awesome. You found some great locations. Cinematography was great too. Do you do the cinematography, or did you get a
Uh,
DP?
I got a DP for To Die For. I love cinematography. I love shooting things, but it's
Hmm.
just like with that, I was thinking that I was probably going to have to shoot To Die For because I didn't really know a cinematographer my age who I would feel comfortable asking me to do this with, or asking to do it with me. Um, who was kind of on the same level that I am at right now. Because I definitely wanted that with all my crew. I kind of wanted us to all be this at the same level or the same place in our
Right.
film journey. I think that helps actually because it gives you kind of a sense of camaraderie, and you're kind of all in it together and all discovering it at the same time.
Right. You want the
Makes it really
best people
exciting.
you can get, but at the same time, if you're just
Right.
starting out, you get some 30-year veteran in there, that can make an awkward
Yeah.
dynamic.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I definitely
Interesting.
recommend that for people. But the cinematographer I actually met online. I didn't know him beforehand,
Okay.
but I just saw he did like he entered the My Road Reel challenge. If you've heard of that, um, it's for Rode microphone. It's like a contest that they
Okay.
have. I think they have it
Okay. Yeah, I think
annually.
I did hear about that. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so I saw
They
his
talked about that on
entry.
Film Riot, didn't they? Did they promote that?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, he entered that. I saw his entry for it, and I found out he's in my area, so I contacted him. He does videos for his church and like really good cinematography. So I asked him, "Hey, do you want to shoot a film?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." So it was things like that. Like it's all about finding the right connection. It's all about finding someone who's just hungry to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many people out there who are just waiting for an opportunity to do something like that. So who have the
Well, he did a
skills to
great job. You want to give him a shout
create
out?
something. Yeah, his name is Alex Hendricks. I think I don't know if he has a Vimeo. Might have anyway. You can look him up, Alex Hendricks.
I'll stalk him
Um,
on the internet and find something. Yeah.
yeah, thanks. He'll appreciate that. But anyway, yeah, he did a great job on it. I really appreciated him helping out. I couldn't imagine having to film it myself because I knew I was going to be swamped already with directing it, and I definitely was, and also producing it. I both directed it and produced it. So I was definitely grateful for him to be there because he did an amazing job. And, it wasn't super planned out how it was going to be shot
Right.
because a lot of locations we couldn't get to until we were there. Besides me just kind of going and looking at them beforehand, but we couldn't kind of have everyone go there and have the
Right.
cinematographer, at least me and the cinematographer go there. And I didn't storyboard the whole thing. I was working on storyboarding it right before we shot it, but I didn't get through it. I hardly got through any of it
Sometimes you
actually.
just got to run when
Because
everybody's ready to go.
exactly, it was all about timing, and like I ran out of time, and I had been doing planning and everything, and I didn't have enough time to do it. So, but we kind of went through the whole film beforehand, just talking about it and how we wanted to shoot it. And to be honest, it was very run and gun. Like it was just kind of okay, get the shot. Like,
Right.
and it worked, I think, for the film because I wanted the film to have a very rough feel because it's post-apocalyptic and it's kind of gritty southern rustic kind of feel to it. So I think it helped because we needed to shoot things quickly, and it also added to the style, I think. So
Right.
so it was cool.
So only I guess two completed projects in. You're working on your third. Um, all of them. Well, I guess the music video didn't really have that much writing on your end, but
Yeah,
let's focus on the short film. You wrote it,
yep,
you directed it,
yep,
edited it,
yep, and produced it.
and produced it.
Pretty much
Um,
everything you can do without like acting or minus cinematography, but yeah.
right.
So
So I'm curious because I've always wondered about this, and I want to get someone else's opinion, especially someone who's just starting out and just kind of fresh off the experience.
mhm.
How do you feel about doing all those things yourself? Because film by
Mhm.
nature is a collaborative medium.
Yeah,
and it's also kind of easy to fall into the trap. And
Right.
I fell into this trap on my first short film. I developed a lot of bad habits of
Hmm.
not communicating because, you know, I was able to, as the guy who wrote it and was directing it, I knew what I wanted in my head, and I developed bad habits of not communicating with people. Did you, for future projects, do you like the writing, directing, editing thing? Do you like having that control, or would you want to collaborate more with other people to bring in more ideas?
Well, it was definitely not like it wasn't really by choice. It was just kind of out of necessity that I was doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like, especially like the producing, I don't like enjoy that. I can do it, but I'd much rather have a producer to do that for.
Right.
So definitely that part of it. One moment. Sorry, am I being too loud?
Is there another plug somewhere a little further?
Yeah, I can move. Sorry.
Guess not, maybe.
I'm being too loud.
Uh,
I'm sorry, ma'am. I can move. Sorry.
I was hearing.
Intermission. Let's all
Yep,
go to the
intermission.
lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I was trying to go downstairs where the internet's better, or the internet's actually worse. But I was trying to go downstairs because it was quieter. So
Right. Now I understand. Sometimes we've had people. Are you on your phone, iPad?
No, I'm on my laptop.
Laptop. Okay. Yeah, we've had there was one we talked to a guy named Will Stein, who's a makeup guy up in Winston-Salem, and he because his workshop is his shed out back, and so he actually did all his interviews using his iPhone. Where, you know, most people sit down in front of their desktop or their laptop. He actually did his over Wi-Fi using using his cell phone. So we're used to working with different people's varying technical situations.
Right.
Sorry if we got you in trouble.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, we've been going for almost an hour, so I don't want to keep you too much longer.
Yep.
But yeah, it's been really great to chat with you, to talk to somebody who's at the early stages of their career and learn, you know, what it's like to start out these days. Because I'm 15, 20 years removed from this stuff. So you graduated from Wake Tech, and now you're headed to the School of the Arts in Winston-Salem.
Yep. I'm super excited to be going there. They have a great film program, and I've visited about 3 times, I think, and I've seen.
I haven't been there in almost 20 years. What's it like now?
It's great. They have like a whole little mini Hollywood Boulevard there, and like a cool. They have a theater, and they have a whole library of films, like on actual film stock and things like that. It's really cool, and they have all the equipment there for like making it. They have like 2 sound stages. So they have really amazing facilities and equipment, and it just seems like an awesome place to kind of thrive as an artist, definitely. Yeah. So, and they have. I also got the opportunity to watch some of the 4th and 3rd year films there, and they're just amazing. Like amazing production value, amazing storytelling. Some of them I can't believe they're not like older people who are making them. So, like.
Well, they've
Experienced
got some
filmmakers.
great professors there to help them out.
Yeah, they do.
Got Patrick Reed Johnson. We've talked to him before. Michael R. Miller, who is an editor on a lot of Coen Brothers movies and stuff like that. He's up there. So they got a great pedigree of teachers to help everyone out. You're going to be in good hands. I know that.
Yep. So.
Well, cool, man. I appreciate it, and best of luck up there. Don't be a stranger. Feel free to come back on the show anytime and tell us what it's like working at an actual film school. Is there parting thoughts? Are there any last bits of advice you'd like to share? Anything else you want to plug?
I'd just say for anyone who wants to do filmmaking, do it. I know like everyone says that, but do it. And definitely there are people out there who want to help you on your film. It's just a matter of finding them and finding the people who are hungry and want to do this. It's all about that. So don't be afraid to kind of reach out, and even on the internet, especially, is a good place to look for other people, and definitely try and find within your community, is there a film scene or whatever. Especially for our area, it's great because we have Triangle Film Community and all that. So yeah, definitely just there are resources out there, and it's doable. It is doable. There were so many times making To Die For that I didn't think we would be able to make it. We weren't going to be able to get a location, or I wasn't going to be able to get the actors or anything like that. But you just have to, I just kept telling myself, I have to act like I know it's going to happen. Like I just have to keep planning like I know it actually is going to happen. And eventually I'll have everything.
The other people around you, if you act confident, if you act like you know what you're doing and you're sure that the project's
then
going to happen,
follow you.
if you're wishy-washy and scared, then they're going to smell that fear on you. Smell it.
Right. Yeah, you definitely do have to kind of project that to everyone else of like, I'm making this like I know it's going to succeed. That's definitely a good attitude to go, but also still be, humble about it.
Right, so, right. Got to be appreciative, especially if you can't afford, if everybody's working on a volunteer basis.
Yeah. One other thing, can I just like give some plugs for people if they want to check out? Yeah, so To Die For should be out by the time people watch this, or the next day after this is filmed. So that will be out. 1 second, I took notes. I need to find it. So
certainly on your Vimeo.
So you can go. So we have a Facebook page for To Die For, facebook.com/To Die For short film, and then we have a Twitter and Instagram. To Die For short film, but the 2 and the 4 are actually the number 2 and the number 4. But other than that, it's just To Die For short film. That's our Instagram and Twitter. And then if you want to see my work, I have a Vimeo. It's vimeo.com/CHIP Studios. And then, I also have a CHI Productions Facebook page. You can just look that up.
Okay.
And then if you want to see the film, it should be live at vimeo.com/CHIP Studios. /To Die For short film, again with the 2 as a number and the 4 as a number. That should be live. So, but if you just find my Vimeo, vimeo.com/CHIP Studios, then it should be on there. So.
And I'll try to put all these links in the show notes. So if you're watching on YouTube or watching the podcast, go look at the notes. We should have some links there.
Yep.
So, well, cool, man. I'm looking forward to everybody getting to see it. I've seen To Die For. I think it's awesome. You submitted it to FilmSpark, so hopefully, we'll see if it gets in there. I know I rated it highly. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see what you're working on next. That music video you're doing right now, and whatever you've got coming out of the School of the Arts. I'm looking forward to it. So, don't be a stranger. Feel free to come on the show anytime you got something cool to talk about.
All right. Thanks so much. I appreciate you having me.
And thanks for taking time out of your trip up to New York. I appreciate it.
Yep. No problem.
All right. Well, you have a good evening, man. Stay safe.
Yep. You too.